authors, and now to the book club. It's been over a year. Last month was our year celebration, and we had a little get together. So, in a nutshell, that's me.
Awesome. Who wants to go next?
I can go. So, hi everyone, I'm Efia. Despite it being spelt with a U, I do pronounce it Efia. And I've known about AKADi for a couple of years now and joined the book club when it started last year. So, I have enjoyed being a part of it and based in sunny London.
Yeah, very sunny and wet. Chrissy babes.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Chris, and I've known Abena, or Kirsty as I call her, since university. And I've been a supporter of AKADi Magazine, and I've joined the book club because I read this book that Kirsty recommended, and I really enjoyed it. And then Kirsty came up with the idea of why not start a book club? So here we are. And I am currently based in Rochester, Kent.
Thank you, Chris. Jen?
Hi everyone. So yeah, I'm Jen. I'm friends with Kirsty. We've been friends for years now. I just had an interest in like things to do with Ghana, Africa, literature, creative stuff. So I used to go to a lot of events with her. And then yeah, she started the book club. I used to love reading. I used to read so much, but it's changed now. I don't know why I find it hard to concentrate. So I've joined the group to try and get back into my love of reading. So yeah, hi, nice to meet you. And I haven't come to a lot of events. I'm here and there and here and there. So sorry about that, but I'm here.
But you've read this book, the one that we'll be discussing later.
Yeah,
So
I read it.
congratulations, and it's nice to have you
Yay.
here.
Thanks,
So
Kirst.
Elizabeth and Prince, I'm going to skip over you because I know that Rhodelle's going to introduce you properly. Delali, all the way from Vienna. Wie geht's dir?
Hi, gut, wie geht's dir? How is everyone?
Be good.
That's nice. I think you guys are doing the introduction. I missed
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah.
Introduction, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
who are you?
Well, I'm Delali. I am based in Austria. I mean, how do I know you? I think through Instagram to kind of the love of certain topics. So we always shared kind of like recommendations of books and ideas. And that's how I ended here in AKADi Book Club, just to keep it brave.
Awesome. And Phyllis, we met you last month, didn't we?
Yeah. So that was my first interaction with AKADi. I liked how the discussion went and everything. So I decided to join and here I am now.
Awesome. And you love reading,
Yeah,
obviously.
I do love reading and I do write once in a while too.
Ooh. Awesome. Okay, so if you're, I don't know where you write, but I know Delali has started a Substack, so we need to share where everyone's writing. That would be fun. Okay, so Rhoda, I'm gonna hand over to you and then you're going to introduce our guests.
Okay. I think I would like our guests to introduce themselves. I do not know this prince, so if he could introduce himself, then our last would be our guest author, Elizabeth herself, to do the introduction before we jump into it.
Hi everyone. Good evening
Hi.
once again.
Good
Hi.
evening.
So I'm Prince. I work with Elizabeth in terms of the marketing, media aspect of basically I run her life, give or take. And so that's where I mostly find myself. But I also happen to work with a lot of artists and people who express interest in book and reading and all those things. So I'm actually happy to be here to learn new perspective from everyone here.
Oh, great. It's good to have you.
Oh, great.
So today's book club, we have a guest author, and then after which we will discuss the book of the month. But before we do, I would like us to hear from the horse's own mouth. So if Elizabeth could please introduce herself to us, who she says she is, and then we continue from there.
Okay. Who she says she is. I like that. Good evening, everyone.
Good
A pleasure to
evening.
meet you virtually and in person. I'm yet to meet Rhoda in person, but virtually. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Who do I say I am? Prior to this year, I was the founder and executive director of a nonprofit here in Ghana called the Girls Education Initiative of Ghana, and we work with young people or young women mainly to transition them from basic education to higher education. And in my former life, I was an educator. I was a teacher in New York, and then a little bit when I came to Ghana, but that's pretty much who I am. And then as of, I think 3, 4 months ago, Prince started running my life because I published my memoir called My Life After Death. And if you see Ability Talks in our name, is the complimentary podcast that's discussing the themes and concepts of the book. So I don't know if I should segue into what the memoir is about, or is it
Yes,
going
I
to
think you
be
can
you?
go ahead because I was going to ask you to give a summary before you start, give
Okay.
us an essence. So,
Okay. So on April 4th, 2003, I like to say that I died, and it's not as scary or as jarring that sounds. I literally died, and I was in a car accident as a 18-year-old, junior year in high school. I was supposed to be on a trip or going out to dinner with a few of my friends, and we are driven by our teacher. I went to a boarding school in the US, and driven by our teacher, and then the freak accidents happen. No one really knows exactly what happens. What happened. Some friends who were on the bus or the van with us say that they think that a deer ran across the street, and then the teacher just lost control of the wheel, and then we got swerved over, and unfortunately, everybody got ejected out of the van, and I was stuck from my waist down. The van fell on top of me, my upper head, and then fractured my skull. And so the death came when I lost consciousness and was rushed to the hospital. Stayed in a coma for about 6 weeks or so, and then inpatient in the hospital for nearly 2 years. And this book chronicles everything that I experienced during and now coming after dying. So yeah.
oh, beautiful. I know you've
And
spoken
wow.
about you've spoken about the fact that you chronicled your life after the accident and all that.
Mhm.
But why did you decide that it was time to put it in a book?
Okay, so I've been told that I'm inspirational, and I like to be, I see myself very objective, and I like to think that if this happened to any of us on this call, right, you wouldn't have any other choice but to pack up and just keep it moving. And that unfortunately is what I had to do at a relatively young age. I had to just figure it out. And you need to graduate from high school. You need to hopefully enroll in university. And then, like all normal people, get a job, find a partner, have kids, all that. And so in this part of the world, in Ghana, I've been living in Ghana for nearly 12 years, relatively full time. This part of the world, people with disabilities are, there's not that much data to even count us. We don't count, right? And so I would like for people who, like me, or born with a disability or acquired the disability to know that they are being represented. And I'm not deliberately trying to inspire anyone, but if there's in any way, shape, or form you pick up anything from my life story and how I persevered, you too can still live in spite of whatever it is that you're going through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. Um, in the beginning of the book, we are
Hmm.
introduced straight to motherhood and all that.
Yes.
Yes. So how has it been like? How have you been able to navigate motherhood with someone with a disability? Is it okay if I refer you as
Yeah,
someone with
please go ahead. So
a
thank you so much for accepting my invitation to preview the book before it was released and give us your review. Thank you so much once again.
That's fine.
Navigating motherhood as a person with a disability. A lot of times I think I have to remind myself that I'm limited in a lot of ways. I'm sure my motherhood journey is not like anybody else. Although I was lucky enough to be able to deliver my kids naturally. I fought hard to push them out naturally, even though I was told by doctor's family that I should prepare my body for a C-section. I pushed for that. My kids, I would say, as corny as it may sound, have really given me reason to live. Um, I used to live because of my work, and my work was my motivation for everything. But I remember when we found out that I was expecting, one thing that my mother said to me was, now maybe finally you'll stop focusing on other people's children and bring it back home and slow down and just be present. And for the last 7 years, as much as I've been a little busy, thanks to this book recently, I can honestly say that my kids have given me pause to really focus or reassess what's important for me. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. We're grateful to God for that. I know of your experience with societal expectations and then religion as well, because you had your own take of it.
Yeah.
Looking back then and now, do you think it's things have improved?
Hmm. So in the book, I cited an example of when I had come back to Ghana as a graduate student to do some research and volunteer in a school in Kumasi, where I'm from. And I went to church one day with my mom and one of the church elders. I was wearing a foot brace, an AFO, an artificial foot orthotic to give my left foot a bit of a lift when I walk. And one of the elders stopped her and asked her, why did you allow her to come in a skirt? And um, I'm sure, as we could all imagine, that's not church is a community. You want to go be a part of something. That's not the reception that I was looking for. But it just speaks to the fact that there's a lot of stigmatization of anything that's different, especially in the global South. And I was having a conversation recently with someone. I'm not religious, like I don't go to church. Tomorrow you will not find me in church. Unless there's a specific reason, I will go. But my faith is strong and I will testify to the moon and back to say that as a result of this accident, my faith is very, very strong. And there are things that happen that I attribute to it. Oh, it has to be God. If it wasn't for God, whoever he or she is, I would not be here, right? Like delivering two kids, one in 7 minutes, the other one in 12 minutes. And as the person that I am, it's not only my doing. There has to be a higher power that was involved in it. Yeah.
Yeah, but now has it improved? Are people accepting more? Are people are being how do I say it? I know a lot happens when
Mm.
these things happen, these
Mhm.
accidents and co,
Mhm.
and then they find themselves blaming it on a lot of
Witchcraft,
things.
all those
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But is it now getting better? in your opinion?
Fortunately, I have not, I think I'm a relatively like I don't want to say I'm a public person because there's some privacy to my life still, but I'm relatively public enough that people no longer come up to me and say something's wrong with you. But I remember there was a one day I was boarding a flight Kumasi to from Accra to Kumasi, and there were a number of people in wheelchairs, and the way the flight personnel were attending to us was just really derogatory. And if I could switch to Tree and say what she said, she was like, like moi did them, or she didn't even say moi did them. That's very raw and local. But she was like, oh, like na omwa bibi anyo omo no omo nkwa say when you know that when you're boarding a flight, there should be priority given for
Yeah,
children, the elderly, people with limitations, right? But her tone and just the way she was shooing us over was really intentional that she has some kind of, I don't know if it's a bias or she's thinks that we're not worthy, you know, like people
yeah,
with
I get
disabilities are not worthy. And I would say that that's probably because we're not really in the mainstream of Ghanaian society, Ghanaian culture. And going back to the olden days where people with who are different are not supposed to be seen, you know,
yeah.
like I know families who keep their kids with disabilities
You
at
did.
home. Yeah. Yeah. But on the progress point, I guess I have to mention that recently Ghana launched a free tertiary education policy or program for people with disabilities. And as laudable as that is, I question how many people who are not in Accra or who don't have access to that information would even get to benefit from that program. Yes.
Yeah, okay. But at least it's a good start. We have to start from
Yeah,
somewhere, right?
there's minute progress there. There's shifts here and there, but I'm always thinking about those who are marginalized, those who are not in a crowd or don't have access to this kind of information.
Good.
Yeah,
Before
it's a
I
start.
go on, sorry.
I
Before I
said
go on
it's a
to my
start.
yeah, okay. Before I go on to my last question, like you to go ahead and give us the excerpts, your book reading, and then we would end there. Or if you're not,
I
do we
have
just go ahead with the
I have a
questioning?
copy of the book. So, since you mentioned the first chapter, A Miracle Birth, I'll read from there, if that's okay.
Sure.
I'll read the first couple of paragraphs. So it says, I'm writing this book on the 21st anniversary of the day that changed my life forever. It gives me pause for reflection, not just because I survived a life-altering car accident and a bad thing happened to me, but because of all the absolutely incredible things that have happened to me that I have accomplished and done in the past 21 years, and I would never have thought possible after I came out of the coma and faced my new life with anxiety and trepidation. Fast forward 2 decades. As I cradled my newborn son in my arm on that November day in 2018, I couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey that had brought me to this moment. It seemed like only yesterday that the idea of bearing a child and giving birth naturally had felt like an impossible dream, a mountain too high to climb. But here I was holding the greatest blessing of my life, a living testimony to the indomitable spirit that resides in us all. That's page 3.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's brilliant.
Thank
I
you.
might say the beginning chapter was also one of my favorites. I have a lot of favorite chapters though, but and I even have a quote. I wrote something over here because
hmm
I felt it was so touching that you said there is no this in disability, only the
hmm
limitless potential for resilience and
hmm
renewal. So I think this is what got you so like I say, it gave you some motivation or pushed you further in your education.
Mhm.
like in your book, where you didn't want to even be considered as someone with a vulnerability. You even
Mhm.
moved to another state to attend school because you wanted
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
if I say
Yeah. I wanted my
liberty.
independence. Yeah.
Yeah. But do
Yeah.
you think you pushed yourself so hard?
I huh. So as someone who still feels the pain every now and then, I'm sure as you're getting older, your joints will start to give in on you. But because of what I've been through, like there's times when I know if I'm exercising too much or if I'm doing too much, I need to just pause and give myself the time to reset and come back to where I need to be. Do I push myself too hard? I think if I didn't do it, who would, right? Like I know my family would be like, okay, you've been through this really bad thing, we understand. But if I didn't do it, nobody would do that for me. Yeah, so
Okay.
I hope that
That's
suffices.
oh yes, it does.
Yeah.
Like every memoir, it's accepted. It's either it is or a lot of feedback.
Hmm.
You spoke about a couple of family members in your book. I know about your sis and how the approach to visiting you was your mom at some
Mhm.
point. So when I was reading, I was like, whoosh, how are they going to take this criticisms? How has
Right.
your relationship been like
Um,
after they read the book?
I have not received feedback from my sister, except I think I told you when I initially reached out to you that they were not aware. So when I told her I'm coming out with a book, the first thing she said was, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I'm going to visit her and her family in December, so I'm sure there'll be time carved out for us to talk about it. But last week or a week and a half, I was in Kumasi visiting my mom, and she let me know exactly what she felt about me
Yes,
they're
putting it
airing
out
out
there
our
like
families
that.
like for like we are private people, but at the same time also she runs a business back in Kumasi, and I'm sure there are things she wouldn't want her clients or people from
Yeah.
her church to know. But I just told her, if you felt offended, I am really sorry, but it has to be, it's my lived truth, and there's nothing in there that you can't say that I have lied about anything. It's my lived truth. And if I I was kind of harsh. I was like, if it was called my life after death, according to Mary, then
Your
you
life.
yeah, if it was Mary's life after death, then you could include your opinions. But for now, let this be mine. So I think this book honestly has made me strong or stronger than I knew I had the potential to be. So yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah.
That's insightful. I don't know if Jennifer has any questions for you because she's also read your book.
Okay. I would love
Oh,
to hear.
is she not here? I think she's gone off.
Has she gone?
Mm,
Maybe she's gone.
So thank you,
okay.
Jennifer, for reading the book. Yeah,
No, I know
thank
she
you
was
so
going
much.
to a bonfire
Hmm.
event, but we can find out what she thought of the book.
Hmm.
We can tell you later. We can ask her
Thank you
to
so much.
feedback. Yeah.
Sometimes I
Um,
feel like no one is reading, but it's good to know that some people have read it. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
it's a really great book.
Thank you.
So, does anyone have any question for our guest author? If not, then we
I have
okay.
loads. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for sharing this really personal journey with us. Um, yeah, I've got loads of questions, but I first of all just wanted to start off with, are you comfortable with letting us know what your ultimate injuries were and how
Sure.
you've been able to
Hmm.
manage that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, got thrown out of the van, the vehicle, and then my skull fractured, and that resulted in a traumatic brain injury, TBI. And you'll see that I'm using my right hand a lot. I have not had use of the left side of my body. I have paralysis on my left side. I fortunately can walk, but I walk with very limited mobility. Like the hip, the way you know how as you're walking, your hip maneuvers and then your knee follows through and all that. Yeah. So on the physical level, that's the evidence of the accident. But as a result of the brain injury, my cognition, I'm very sharp, but my cognition is a little bit impaired, and it affected my going to school quite a lot. I had to get accommodations so I could be able to be in school and succeed. But I pushed through, and yeah, yeah. And then as a result, also my vision has, I mean, been impaired. I wear glasses sometimes. I I can't see quite well. And if I spend too much time reading, I love to read.
Mm.
My eyes get tired and I have to tell myself to stop.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And
Mhm.
you've done so well to be able to push through, because I know like mental health, I mean, I don't know
Mhm.
how that affected you and how
Yeah.
that impacts on you being able to push forward and carry
Mhm.
on. I know
So,
that oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was
I
just going to say
was
Jennifer's
on to that,
back,
yeah.
so we can
Okay.
ask her, but please continue.
So mental health, I grew up in a family where I wouldn't say people are always on edge, but my dad was easily like he's quick-tempered. And I, being the firstborn of my parents, I think I picked up some of that stuff because that's the only way I saw we were relating to each other. Like my mom's soft, she'll avoid you, and if there's an issue, she'll let the friction wear off before she'll come back and address it. But my dad would just chew you out if needed. And I picked some of that up, but going through the accident and the recovery, I honestly think the moments when if and when I do get frustrated, it reminds me of something, a part of myself that I've worked hard to try to get away from. And so there's all of us, we get sad, we get down, but for some reason I try not to let that affect me too much. And I don't play the woe is me, because woe is not me. Somebody else wished that they were in my position. And I think I am doing way better than other people. And we used to say, and I still believe this, had my accidents happened in Ghana, I would not be sitting here talking to you right now. So I'm reminded every day that there's still things that I need to be thankful for. Yeah.
Well said.
Okay.
I
I think Jennifer is in. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
here.
Since you read the book, you have any questions?
No, I don't at the moment. I'm okay for now.
Okay. All right.
Jennifer, thank
So,
you so much for reading the book. Thank you.
all right. So I wanted to know your
Effie's got
future
a
plans.
question. Effie's got a
Oh,
question.
okay.
Thank you. And I echo what Abner said in terms of thank you for your willingness to
Mhm.
be so open and honest and share and pen a memoir as well, which I know is not easy. And I've got loads of questions as well. And I look forward to reading the book. And if I
Definitely.
can ask maybe two questions. So did you have either a particular target audience or objective in mind when you wrote the book? And then the second question is, how do you feel that, if at all, writing the book has opened opportunities for more discourse and discussion around disability or being differently abled,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
either in Ghana or other contexts as well? What difference has it made in terms of maybe being able to just talk more openly about some of
Mhm.
the things that you raise in the book?
Mhm. So, the target audience or objective of the book, last year or over the period of time when I finally decided I would write the book, I was not, I was in a vulnerable place. There were a lot of things not going right for me, for my family. my nuclear family that I've created, a lot of things were not going right for us. So in a way, I started talking to a therapist, and then something dawned on me. We made connections between um, how I was feeling, whatever it is that I was feeling, and then that paved the way for me to get over myself and say, I will write this book. And so a lot of times I say that the process and the period of writing the book was therapy for me. And so my target audience and objective was, I think selfishly, I just wanted to get to a better place where um, I am strong and assertive enough to speak for myself or speak my truth. In the chew outs that my mom had with me over the last week, I ended the conversation by saying, I'm so glad that I am in this place where I could tell you what I think, because had I not written this book, we would not be having this conversation. And I am the type of child, the type of daughter who will dance around issues just because I don't want to create friction with anyone. So it's it would not make money if I say I just wrote it for me, but I wrote it for myself, for me to get to a better place in my life and how to deal with people. And has it opened opportunities for more dialogue? Um, I know that people have given me reviews about the book, how they're happy to read about some of the things that I'm talking about, but it also has opened up people to question the stigma. And with the podcast that we've also are doing as a complement to the book, everybody should subscribe and follow our content as well. I think it gives us the platform to speak from a lived truth, a lived experience that may cut across for other people. And I say that not all disabilities are the same. We're all different, right? Like what an autistic person relates with or goes through is nowhere near what I go through. But there is the central theme that we all want to be embraced and included. So that's what we're championing now, inclusion. Yeah. If
Great,
nothing
thank
else.
you. And
Thank
in
you.
addition to reading the book, I look forward to listening to the podcast as well.
Thank
I'm
you.
a big fan of podcasts, so
Thank you.
good to have that access.
Thank you very much. And thank you for dropping the link. Thanks for that.
I've put the Amazon link in as well if you want to buy the book, or if you want us to buy it via you, let us know. It will do that if you've got it on your website.
People who are locally in Ghana, we should put it up on the website. Prince, let's take note of that. So we're not sending them directly through Amazon, but for now, buy through Amazon. If you're locally in Ghana, you could get it through Book Nook store, or you could reach out to us directly on any of our handles. You could DM us, and then we'll get it to you. Yeah.
Okay. So that's been a very insightful 30 few minutes after 30
Wow.
minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, and I just want to know before you leave or decide to stay,
Mhm.
um, what are you working towards? Are you going to release something else? Are you doing something towards girls' education? What's the next step?
So we are recording up to season 5 of the podcast. That's what's been keeping us busy. But we're partners for another organization. Prince, remind me which one it is. Their disability conference, their second annual disability conference. And we're also in talks with the University of Ghana, Legon, to do something together to commemorate December 3rd, which is the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. So yeah, but on the organization side, we're always active. We're always like we're about to recruit our next batch of students come next year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So wishing you all the best. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much
much.
for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you, Abuna. Thank you, AKADi
Thank
Magazine.
you. Thank you
I
so
will
much.
stick around, but I will go off camera if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. And Prince, thank you as well for
Mhm.
joining.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having us.
Wow, that was amazing. I don't know if anyone else had questions that they felt a bit shy to share. They can always put it in the message box or the comment box, and then we can share it later. But can we give a round of applause to Rhoda for fantastic hosting skills and beautiful earrings? I was gonna
Thank
say, Elizabeth, your earrings are also nice. And I
Yeah.
really like, I think you've threaded your hair, is that right? I feel
Yeah,
like
I
that's
was
what
going
I
to
was seeing.
mention that.
Yes, yes,
He
feeling that.
has.
Yes. And so now I just want to welcome some newcomers. So we've got Kwame, not a newcomer, but shout out to Kwame, Joanna, Kofi, all the way in Accra, William, Mr. Simmons. Thank you so much for joining as well.
Yeah, sorry about being late, but
No,
I have some visitors, so I have to
are
make
they
time for them. Yeah.
aliens? Because you look like you're in space.
Yes, you're right. Just want to appear different.
No worries, we've recorded this session, so whatever you missed, you can go back and listen to.
Okay.
So now we're moving
And
on
then,
to. Oh,
sorry, you missed out
sorry.
Esther.
Oh, no, I said Esther earlier. Oh, I did it on
Oh, okay.
I did it on the chat. You're right. Let me say it
Oh, okay.
vocally.
Sure.
Hello,
Sure.
Esther.
That's fine.
Okay.
Esther and Kwame, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. I think maybe she's a bit far or something.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna move on to Houseboy. I properly enjoyed this book. I know it's sad and I know it's very violent, like it's very tough on the eyes, but yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I just wanted to, first of all, who would like to do a summary of the book? Kwame. Kwame's gone quiet.
Yo, hello,
Hi.
hello to you all. Yeah, hello to you
Hello.
all. So, hello. So, Houseboy is basically a book by a Cameroonian author, which records the French colonial experience in Cameroon through the diary of a houseboy known as Toundi. He starts off as a boy, with his family, and then aspires to be part. He sees the activities of the Europeans, and then he aspires to be a black Frenchman. So um, he does, and then tries his best to be part of um, um, Father Gilbert's parish. He ends up in the parish, but later he finds out about the truth about the Europeans. He finds out the truth in them. He sees through them and see their hypocrisy, their hypocritical ways, and everything. So it's like he starts off as a boy with little knowledge about the Europeans, but later he finds out the truth about them, seeing through Madame's affair as a serial adulteress. So now it's like the woman Toundi uses to idolize is now fallen from the pedestal that Toundi placed there. It's like and then um, that's symbolic of the French colonial powers maybe waning in Africa at that time. So I think in a nutshell, the houseboy is about the experience of Toundi as a houseboy, yeah,
Thank
recorded in
you.
his diary.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great summary. Yeah. Efia says great summary. It's true. Um, I don't know. This book for me, because I'm going to ask you all, as we normally do, what you thought of it, positively or negatively. I read it after coming back from Ghana, and I don't know, I felt like it compounded my view. Every time I go to Ghana, I'm surrounded by people that look like me, and it's a huge positive, I feel, compared to living in Britain. That's one of the negatives, I would say. So you feel endorsed, and that's how I felt. And reading that book and just reading through the eyes of this young boy who turns into a young man, and what he experiences, it just left me feeling really angry. I think I should add that I'd just been to three castles. I'd been to or dungeons. I'd been to Osu Castle. I'd been to Elmina and Cape Coast. So all of those feelings mixed in with that, and then reading the book, that's kind of what I was left with, this kind of injustice and anger. But I think it was a brilliant book because he managed to draw all of those things out of me. So I'm inviting you to tell me what you thought of the book. Who wants to go first? Or should I pick you? Effia.
So I was trying to give people a chance because I've spoken already, so I didn't want to I didn't want to jump in again, but happy to get started. So yeah, I agree with you, Abna, that it is a brilliant book, brilliantly written, and despite the subject matter, usually I would avoid topics like this, but I thought, okay, let me embrace it and yeah, just see. And I was also intrigued to read it because it had been translated from French, and I just wanted to see if there was a different feel or a different flavor to it. But yeah, I really enjoyed reading it. And interestingly, I just wanted to pick up on what you were saying in terms of the context of where you read it. So I read it on the flight to and from Malta, where I was surrounded pretty much by British people, British white people, Caucasian people. And I think that did as well not color, but did influence the way that I responded to the book as well, because I was kind of looking around me and I was surrounded by people who almost epitomized or characterized the people in the book that were maltreating Toundi and some of the characters in the book as well. And I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about the book, and I say this a lot for other stories, and I think that he captured it in a very unique and very beautiful way, is getting into the mindset of the different characters and all of the characters, not just Tunde, but all of the other ones as well, the commanders, etc. So I think just being able to really put yourself into their shoes, I think he really helped you to do that through how he wrote it. And there were so many phrases, sentences, which I didn't write down or take pictures of, but at the time of reading were very really spoke to me and really powerful in terms of what they were saying as well. So I'll leave it there. Give someone else a
Completely
chance.
agree. Yeah. Who else wants to jump in?
I'll go next. So
Go,
yeah,
Chris.
I thought the book was thought-provoking because um, it deals with the treatment of the main character, and he thought he'd escape his family to get a better life, but then he finds out that it's just as bad. Life is just as bad, but if not worse than when he was with his own family. However, when he moved from his parents' place to Father Gilbert's, Father Gilbert was the only person who treated him really well. And he's the only one of was he European or African, Father Gilbert?
I thought he was white.
Yeah, I
Was
think
he?
yeah, I think he's only one of the few Europeans who treated him well. He taught him how to read and write. He taught him values and Catholicism, Christianity. So he benefited from when he was with Father Gilbert. And then when Father Gilbert was killed, um, then that's when it started getting a bit, the fortune started to change for Tunde. But also, he had some allies as well, rather than a few people who were against him. And so it made you root for him. And I liked the way it was presented as two exercise books, because it's a typical schoolboy thing. So he was like a schoolboy learning stuff. And probably when he was learning to read and write, he decided to write his own journal and record a few things as well. But also, there's this pretentiousness, especially with the European characters. They pretend to be nice, they pretend to be charming, but when you see their true character, then it just brings to light um, the aspect of colonialism, and they want to control you and all that stuff, especially with the commandant and his wife.
I wanted to just interject where you said that Father Gilbert was nice. I think I initially read it that way, but then I think there was a bit where Toundi is reflecting back on his life, and he was beaten by him still. And there was a bit in the book that I just will never forget. And they were talking about when there were scraps on the food, on the plates of the priests, or those people that were in power in the church. They would be grateful for those scraps as opposed to the actual full meal that they could get if it was made by somebody in their community. And I just thought, and I think the description was something like related to dogs wanting the scraps from the master's plate. So although he was nice and everything, relatively, he could have been so much nicer. He could have not beaten him and stuff like that. Treated him like somebody who he saw as an maybe not an equal because he's a priest, but he wouldn't treat another white person like that. Imagine eating the scraps off somebody's plate when, I
mean,
a lot of it.
I thought it was a bit patronizing, that aspect. So
yeah.
And also at the beginning where he'll be handing out the cubes of sugar, throwing up the cubes of sugar so that they were rationed for it, which showed how lesser of human they thought of we the blacks. Yeah. Yeah. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that bit pissed me off. So Effie's made a good point in relation to what Chris said about Father Gilbert. So Father Gilbert came across as nice in comparison to the others, but was a lesser of other evils. And it's true. It's like, because it's so bad, he is nice, but he could be so much nicer.
Oh yeah, true. He could have been so much nicer because we saw somewhere in the book that he wasn't even. It's like he tried economizing on even their meals. He wouldn't even give them meat in the book. There were some meals where Father Gilbert even didn't. He refused to give them meat and other things. So although he was nicer, he wouldn't treat his fellow white as such. That's what I felt.
Yeah. And just going back to what you said about the cubes of sugar, that one I felt was so symbolic. I mean, I don't know about Cameroon in particular when it comes to sugar production, but I know for definite, Ghana, we grow sugar cane. So imagine these are processed bits of sugar that would originally potentially have come from our country that are now given back to us in cubes. And we know that processed sugar is very bad for you and cane is much better. But we know the link with the slave trade, with the sugar cane, and the fact that you're not even able to just take it with your hand, you're throwing it like you're a dog. And that's what the fight was about. Imagine he was trying to get 2 cubes instead of the rationed one or whatever, and that caused the fight, and which led to all the other things that happened to him with his family and him having to eventually leave. So I just thought that was quite ironic. Were you saying something, Kofi? You're on mute. Oh yeah, write it in the comments.
No, sorry, I wasn't saying anything. I've not read the book. I can't comment. I'm just an observer.
Oh, okay. But I've gone on and on about the book, so you're going to read it.
I know. I've heard everything you've just said. I've heard many times. Yes.
Yeah. Poor him. Delali, have you got anything to say on what you thought of the book, what you liked?
Yeah, it was interesting to read, but it made me sad and annoyed me most of the time reading it. So it's kind of like, and I just finished it today, so I'm still processing things. yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. But I have to say that I really liked the metaphors they used in the book. So that was kind of like, that was interesting. Also sometimes funny, but then also sad, like that, yeah. And yeah, I'm still processing the book, and I'm just I didn't expect it to end the way it ended. But then again, it was a kind of like diary entry, yeah. So obviously it would abruptly end. But yeah, topic wise of the book, yeah, it was hard reading this, and I didn't expect it to be hard. And like you said, the state where you were when you were reading it, I'm currently doing working on a concept for the museum in regards to decolonialization. So also reading this book, understanding the white man's aspect of culture, that just it just annoyed me. Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Phyllis, Maryland, do share if you want to say something. Esther? Jen, you've just finished reading the book as well today. Oh, Esther. Hi, Esther.
Hi, sorry, I've not read the book, so I'll not be able to comment. So I'm just listening and enjoying the conversation going on.
Okay, cool. No problem. Jen, I know you've just finished reading the book. Did you want to share anything?
I think Jen is gone.
Oh, okay then. Not to worry. I was gonna say, is anyone on here who's read it, do they also speak French or do they read in French? Because I was telling somebody about this book in Ghana and they said they read it for French literature. Are you nodding, Rhodelle?
So yes. So yes, it is one of the books I knew, that literature books in French, but I never read it because it was your choice as to whether you should read it or not. So I never read it though. But now I'm interested in reading it in French just so that I have a feel, when something is in its original form before it's translated, just to like how it really, really felt in the French language.
Yeah, completely. I wonder if it is different. You said that as well, Effia. My French isn't good enough for me to, I don't think, read it in French. Mr. Simmons, I think you speak French, don't you? And you've read the book.
Yeah, I'm not bad. I mean, I'll tell you, I haven't had time to read the book. I'm not just reading the summary, but again, I was taken up with other activities, but I would have wished to have read the book. But again, to me, I mean, yes, we can talk about the reality of the book, but we know that this is a day-to-day, you know, probably day-to-day life in reality for us. We unfortunately had put the white man on a higher pedestal, only to find out that what we thought wasn't at all. They're no different from us in terms of human beings, and I think it's something which we still are learning. And probably one day we'll come to the realization that we are as good as they are. I was intrigued to think that when his name was, he was baptized as Joseph, and was favored as the houseboy. But again, with time, he realized that he was made inferior. And that's a sad story. I mean, if you think that being baptized into religion is a way of attaining equity and equality, but that didn't happen. That's a big disappointment. And of course, looking at also what happened to the commandant and also the just the adultery which was recorded, by just with interaction with some of the prison director and all that. That again will come to reality that probably his father wasn't as bad as he had always assumed to be. He ran away from his father, abusive father, but probably that world is no different from any human world. And I think it's a lesson in a way. Probably it comes to bear on our day-to-day living, but it's about time we realize that. I mean, this is a human world, irrespective of color. I think probably that's my take from the book, and it's something which we all are aware of. But when you read these books, probably it becomes more and more, the case, that we're no different, and it's just about time that we accept that.
Thank you. Yeah, really good points there. I think it's amazing that next year this book's going to be 70 years old, and yet I don't think I can't say I don't think a lot has changed. A lot has changed, that Cameroon is no longer under colonial rule in that way, and lots of countries are not. And yet those things I think resonated with me, like I could identify with them. And also I haven't read a book on written on African soil where to me it sounds a lot like what it must have been like during Jim Crow, like living in America. I felt like there was a lot of parallels. So I don't know if anyone saw that as well. I felt like if you were an African American reading this, it would resonate with you in terms of that narrative and experience. Okay, it's just me. Okay, the fallout of
We need a
colonialization.
historian to comment on that. I mean, I'm not sure whether probably any of you has the answer. I wonder why he adopted a diary in the format to the writing, because he kept to doing say. I wonder why he did that.
I think, I mean, personally, I think I mean, we'll never know because he's no longer with us. But I think it's a really good way of telling a story, actually, because a diary is personal. You're more likely to be honest in a diary. Um, I thought it was an innocence because he just learnt the language. He'd learnt to write in French. He's penning his words down in an exercise book, as Chris explained before, because that's how he learnt how to read and write from the father. And there's this innocence that he's able to convey while telling really like tragic stories. So we know that he's possibly seeing it in an innocent way, but we understand sort of maybe the bigger picture of some of what he's talking about. And I wonder if you could do that if you didn't use that vehicle of the diary. I'm not sure. It means you also have to be very succinct because he says a lot in 121 or 2 pages, which I think is fantastic. Read the book, like really read it and read the his language. It's amazing.
Take my time, yeah.
I'm gonna just read out. If no one has anyone else got anything to say, I'm gonna read something that Phyllis has written while you cogitate and think about something that you might want to share. So Phyllis said, I thought it was so beautifully written and yet so heart-wrenching. I know there are a lot of stories out there about colonialism, but I don't think I'd ever read any that captured the experience the way this did. This was so vivid. The other thing was how some of the things are still relatable even now. For instance, in the first exercise book, when he said he'd had made old bones if he'd been good and stayed at home, I did feel that. So that sort of speaks to what I think, William, you said about maybe it wasn't as bad at home. Because even now, when you do have conversations with most young people in the Ghanaian community in the name of seeking better opportunities or greener pastures or the white man's world being better than any we would have out here, they'd be willing to go through just about anything. Yeah.
That's true.
Agreed. And then Efia said the fallout of colonialism and neo-colonialism is still very strong in Africa, unfortunately. Yeah, it is. What did people think about the use of nature scenes in the book? Do you remember? I noticed he used some words. I mean, I didn't know, like agesi, asege. There were some other words. I didn't write them all down. NDJEM, gem, maybe. And he used to say that word. I wrote, why does he use that word? Anyway.
Well, it's not a French word anyway. Probably
No, so
Cameroon
it
parlance.
it reminds me of Nee when we read his book, Nee Parks, when he mixed in a lot of words, Ghanaian words, tree words in with the English. So anyway, yeah,
I don't know
that's
if you
it.
mean,
Esego tree. Yeah, is that what I'm trying to say? Yeah, so Kwame said Esego tree.
and I was just saying that I don't know if you mean nature as in quite literally like the natural world and environment, surroundings,
Oh yes,
etc. And I think when I
yeah.
was reading it at the time, I was taking it in the context of how it was being described based on the
Mm,
scene. I didn't
mm,
necessarily go away thinking, oh, there were lots of references to nature. But I think any book that is set in a, well, different to where I know or where I'm used to, any book that is set in a particular location or cultural context where they do bring in words or descriptions so that you can almost feel like you're there in the scene. I think that that was very powerful. I felt when I was reading the book, and
mm,
a lot of books have the ability to do that, but I felt the way in which the author wrote it made it particularly strong in this book that you could almost be an observer within that environment, living at the
mm,
residence. So I felt that he did that really well and really helped you to get a visual sense and a very not even just visual, I think all your senses as well, smells, tastes, sounds, etc.
mm.
So I thought that he generally wrote really well in terms of capturing all your senses and helping you to feel as if you were there.
Yeah, I agree. I was just wondering if there was maybe some other metaphorical link with the use of nature. So again, I'm just looking at other books that we've read where, possibly nature is seen as being protective, positive, or negative. And I wonder in this scenario, was it or was it not, or was it not really relevant? I don't know, but I just noticed there was a lot of scenes, and I wish I'd written down some more of what I'm trying to articulate and why, because I don't know. Um, there were some phrases, and I did write these down that I thought were really powerful, and this reminded me of what's the guy? The beautiful ones are not yet born, and he says,
Oh, yeah.
a diary is a grain store for memories. I thought that was really nice. Another one was glutton that flows through your mum's veins. Oh yeah, and then page 11, his dad said, your way back into the house will be to pass through your mum's anus. I did think that was quite unnecessary. Like, why does it have to be that raw? But I guess it serves a purpose.
Yeah, and I think that's very quite African. We are very raw people. Yeah, so it's kind of common for you to hear I think the generation before us using such phrases. Maybe we would hold back a bit, but it was something very common with them.
Did anyone else have a particular phrase that they liked?
Yeah, there was this phrase that I came across, but Rhoda already mentioned it on the WhatsApp platform, and it's stuck with me. It's our ancestors used to say that you have to escape when the water is just up to your knees. And I think it summed up the whole book pretty much because um, Toundi moved to the commandant's place, and he was treated badly. And his house girlfriend warned him. She was the one that said the phrase. And towards the end of the book, he found himself having to do that because had he stayed, we don't know whether he would survive this.
But I think he waited too long. When that lady
Yeah.
said go, that's when he should have gone. I don't know. I just felt like he was naive. Kwame.
There's also this passage that who are we? Who are we? We black men who are called French. I think, yeah, the novel even hinges much on that question because Toundi did everything. He learned the language, but still wasn't regarded as a Frenchman. In the same way, during the French colonial experience, the black men were told that if they adopt French lifestyle and values, they become assimiles. But they did all this, but they still weren't treated as Frenchmen, as like the way the French treated like their own companion. So like that passage was very compelling, where he said that who are we black men who are called French? It's like they were even confused because the law was that if I adopt French values and customs, then I become a Frenchman. But then after doing all this, then I'm still not regarded. Then I'm still not regarded. There are certain prejudices against me and everything. So in that context, I felt I related with Toundi very much.
Phyllis has said the same thing in the comments. She picks the same quote. But do you think that speaks to how colonialism was different, say, in Ghana? Because in French-speaking countries, it was about assimilation, wasn't it? And it was direct rule. William, did you want to say something?
Well, I'm
No?
just not in particular, but I was just looking at some aspects of the summaries as well. That he was asked by the commandant I mean, the question was point blank. It said, "Are you a thief?" I like that one. So that puts him in a different category altogether. That he wasn't really respected. He was seen as a thief, and of course he said, "No, I'm not a thief." And he said, "Why are you not?" And he said, "Because I don't want to go to hell." So that tells you that, I mean, although religion was brought to him, I mean, he took it wholeheartedly and tried to live even in a way which the white person who brought him the religion wasn't even perceiving to live. I thought I liked that one. And he said, "Where did you learn that from?" He said, "I'm a Christian." So I told, and so on. So clearly he knows what he's talking about. He's assimilated better. You can imagine clearly the commandant has nothing to do with religion, and it probably is just a facade. So I like that one.
Yeah. But I think it also speaks to this view that you're never ever going to be good enough. I mean, Toundi was perfect. He was able to remember that point where the lamp had to be lit, and then the woman, the madame, didn't want him to do it because he'd found out that she'd been sleeping with this guy and putting the condoms under the bed. Honestly, if you haven't read it, it's just delicious. So then after not that, that's not delicious, but the whole thing's a delicious book.
Yeah, I
And then
understand what you mean. Yeah.
yeah, and then because she doesn't want him to do it, she has to ask the other servants, but they can't do it because he's the one who's been taught how to do it, and he does it really well because there's a risk that you can hurt yourself if you don't do it properly. So I thought he was never he was actually he became a threat because he knew so much, but he was also very good at what he did what he was taught to do. And I think that speaks to, this mantra, especially in, I think, the West. Us Black people are taught that we have to be 10 times better than the white man. And even when we become 10 times better, that doesn't secure us a seat at the table necessarily. They see us as a threat because we're too good. So I felt like that was kind of the narrative that was being sort of portrayed there.
Yeah.
Anyone want to challenge me? Yeah.
No,
Oh, sorry,
no.
I was just going to go. Oh. Go
yeah,
on,
go
William.
on, Effia. Oh.
No, I was just again enjoying again, we've mentioned some of the interesting quotations probably come as similes. And for example, we mentioned the lumps of sugar. I said, well, he threw the lumps of sugar to us like throwing a corn, to a bird or something, which I thought is quite interesting. And that's and again, gives you an idea of how he was saying. But I like that simile. So you can imagine if a corn is thrown that way, just the feeling he has, which is unfortunate, but it's something which is worth noting. I mean, the other one is that he was curled up, folded into himself like a huge antelope. I think that was quite a nice one too. He laughed.
Nature.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. He laughed with all his teeth, so his teeth looked like a crescent moon. I think I like that one. And in fact, in a way, we do that. I mean, we overdo things. Now, whether to be respected is another thing. Probably it's a way of portraying our honesty, but it's not being seen that way. I remember a colleague saying that many of those who travel abroad, they tend to be over friendly, so they're seen as is very nice. But in actual fact, what we do is we bury in our real self, and that's a good example of that. He laughed with all his teeth, and it's quite interesting. We still do these things. I mean, we don't see a typical white person doing that, but now whether probably is a way of subjugation is another thing, but it is, yeah. So that's another thing. And another one is the skin of my knees is now as hard as a crocodile skin. I mean, I like that. Again, it tells you of how unworthy we see ourselves at times, and it just relating his skin to that of crocodile. I thought it's quite interesting.
Maybe not unworthy. He's just describing what is close to him. Something that he can relate to. Going back to that nature thing. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Possibly it's not, because in some communities, that in Ghana, the crocodile is revered. It's a totem. So I was wondering if the relationship to speaking about nature was something that was elevating the narrative, because you're linking it to something which is godly or linked to nature, Mother Nature.
It's quite interesting. It's quite vivid, though, if you think that he's written this, diarized everything. It's very vivid for a writer, at the time, and probably the inference is for us to to look again at those who colonizers, that they are not as good as we portray them to be.
Yeah. Effia?
I was just going to come back to the question, I guess, that you were asking and trying to see whether there's a difference between the colonization experience of African countries that were colonized by the French, and then what the process was, or what the experience was for British colonization as well. And I don't know too much about kind of Francophone countries and that experience, but I think just that general debate, which still exists today when it comes to identity and whether you can be. So I know there's a debate in the UK, as a Black person or ethnic minority, can you ever be English? You can be British in terms of maybe your citizenship, you've lived here, you were born here, etc. But can you be English? And then again, that whole idea of you can do all the things. So, and just to use her as an example, but our dear friend Kemi Badenoch.
I knew you were going to say her name.
just by example, I don't like talking about her, but she's a good example of someone who maybe as a Black person tries to do all the things and tries to be as British as possible. But then I can't remember the exact phrase, but Keir Starmer said something where he was almost saying that she sees herself as this bastion of upholding British culture. But I think sometimes they're just laughing because they're thinking that you'll never be British or you'll never be English or you'll never be what you are aspiring to be. So I think it's just quite an interesting debate that goes on both sides. And I know at least when I've been to France or heard from people who are francophone, their experience of how they're viewed as former people of the colony may be different to the British experience, but there's still this shared thing of we will never be who the colonizers are because we're just not them. We're just never going to be that culture. But anyway, that's a whole nother debate.
Exactly.
I'll tell you, I'm not sure whoever has read the French version, one of you has, but again, the title in itself leaves us in suspense. And you have a feeling that this is one aspect of a life recorded. For example, we say it's a houseboy. When actual French, the title is different. Une vie de boy. You know, it's that says
what does that mean?
It means a life of a houseboy, a life. So it didn't say the life of a houseboy, a life. In other words, this one sample of a narrative which you have on record. There could be many of them. So that tells you that it's not only him reporting, but if you look at the various reports which we have, probably not all of them have been put on record. Probably it's no different. And in other words, there could be witnesses that what he's recording is it has so much veracity to it. So a life of a houseboy, yeah.
And another houseboys, because he wasn't the only one. So this is one of many. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I like the way in the title in French even make more sense. A life, not the life of a houseboy, but a life. So one of them, there are a collection of them. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if there's any other areas that Phyllis has got. Okay. I don't know if there's any other areas that people feel maybe we've not covered that they want to talk about.
Well, Madame's authoritative nature.
Yeah.
The wife of the commandant. I don't know if it's something that is common among many women, but I read this book, Paul 7, a certain madam, whose attitude is that of is similar to that of the commandant's wife. So it's like women tend to be mean when they tend to assume an authoritative nature. They tend to be very mean, and this from somebody who has had male bosses and then female bosses. Though Commandant could also beat and slap him, but then Commandant was sometimes thoughtful about Toundi as compared to Madame. So, like women tend to be very mean if they are at an advantage. That's what I wanted to ask.
Is that what you think?
Yeah, that's what I think, because I read the novel, and then the same characteristics of Madame, the wife of the commandant, was like my Madame's attitude, being mean to the cooks, being mean to the staff, being snobbish, shouting on them. So it's like women really need to check themselves.
Maybe some women will say, not all women, like some men.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. I'd like to add that, because some women are also thoughtful. Not all women are like that. Women are not a monolith, so some will be kind, some will also be harsh and everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, in a way, in a way, the book is sad when I have time to read it properly. But if you think that, I mean, again, he was framed as a thief, by the agricultural engineer, and all that. Eventually had to flee from the hospital to Guinea, and he died. Of course, he eventually died, left the diary behind. That is a testament that, well, he wasn't treated properly. But I mean, initially his thought was with the conversion and also assuming the way the white person live will end up being a sort of in a progression, to a better life, but rather ended up, dying and effectively like it's a big loss for him. I mean, I think the picture. I like the picture of that. In other words, if you leave everything behind and not really identify who you really are, you will not gain. And that's where we see as a Tunde wants to be another person altogether. Eventually, he didn't gain anything. Of course, what he left was a diary to alert everybody to the fact that you don't have to live the way he lived. I mean, I guess probably that's.
I think just to clarify, when he's with Father Gilbert, that's him willingly going there. After that, he sort of doesn't have a choice. When
Yeah.
Father Gilbert dies in a bloody accident, he's kind of passed on to somebody else. So I don't think he had a choice, and I don't think he thought this was a step up because he was aware of the commandant. He wasn't a nice guy. So I don't personally, from reading the book, I didn't get that impression. This was just the fate of him. I think when that lady comes in, the lady who becomes the sort of house girl, I loved her. I just loved her attitude, and she sort of just didn't care. Um, and that was different to the other people who were serving in the house. I just felt like that was I don't know what the word is, but maybe like a conscience telling him, if we think of her as a separate thing, but maybe just advising him to leave and maybe to be look and oh, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm trying to say basically that the way that she behaved amongst the white people was so much different to the other people. They were very deferential, and she was kind of like, I don't really care. I'm just gonna be how I am. And that and I like the way that she could exist in that space and be like that. So I feel like if he'd have listened to her earlier, he may have survived, or he might have been able to get away. I don't know, but I don't think he had any choice in where he moved to.
Yeah,
If you see what I
I get
mean.
what you mean.
If
But
if yeah,
having said that, he
Calistia,
ran into an
yeah.
identity crisis there because he couldn't tell whether his leanings was towards a white person that is a better world. That probably was a
Initially,
big
yes.
flaw, and of course, when he got sunk in deep into that, he realized that, oh, that's not the case at all. Probably it's no different from where I came, and so on and so forth. Because I was thinking of what is some of the quotation or say, he said, "Brother, what are we? Are we black men who called ourselves French or whatever?" So you can imagine, and by French it means the white French. So clearly there's a loss there in identity. He assumed that actually whatever he ran into, he thought this word or this culture white is a bit more superior to what he had known, and and probably it was a big disillusionment.
Yeah, but way too late. Does
Okay.
anyone else have anything else they want to say about this book? Maybe the ending?
Yes, if I can.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like the way the book began. I like that there was someone on vacation, and I think in that time there was communication through drumming, and they set out to go look for. I think they understood the message of the drums, and they set out to go look for the person they were talking about, which I really enjoyed because that was the way of our life then. And this person was not named, but he was the one who discovered the diary. And then we get to know that there was a dying man at the beginning of the story. So that when it was getting to the end, I kept saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's going to be Toundi. I can't believe it's going to be Toundi," only for him to have, only for him to be the one to die. And I like that. I think he died with dignity, although he didn't make it. He said he was happy that he didn't die in their land. I think he made there was a statement like that. So I think Ferdinand Oyono was trying to tell the blacks then that it's not greener, there's no greener pastures. Be where you are and die in your own land.
Yeah, I hated that he died so painfully. I agree with you, but I'm so glad that in his final few hours he was able to escape. He must have been in so much pain, but he died a free man basically, because they were going to torture him. And I just hated the way that they fed off the enjoyment of beating you so much. And for me, I felt like it was a bit sexual, at the beginning when the other father, the one that isn't killed, I've forgotten his name, not Gilbert.
Yes.
And then they have to strip you. Like, why do you have to strip me? And I felt like there was a sexual sort of titillation to what they were doing as well. And the reason why I say this is I've got a friend who's Jamaican, and his father, so his grandfather was enslaved in Jamaica, and his father, my friend's father, learned off his grandfather about how he would beat him. And the way he would beat him was how his master, his grandfather's colonial, the slave master would beat him, and he would strip him and he'd tie him to a pole and he'd whip him. And that's how my friend's dad used to be beaten, and that's what he brought to my friend. So some of what we're seeing about how you use punishment to punish your children, where are we actually getting it from? Maybe we're getting it from those people that ruled us before. So I just wondered, why do you have to strip the person to beat them?
Because there's no barrier to you feeling the pain if you are stripped naked. I think
But it's
that's
like
a
double,
very
yeah. It's
quite
like
barbaric.
double. Yeah, it is gratuitous. FBI says it's gratuitous. But I mean, when I read it, I could have been reading something in the Deep South in America. That's how I felt. And you're thinking this was happening on African soil. I mean, I know that in Ghana there was efforts to create apartheid because you had different hospitals for black people and different hospitals for white. So is there a book about somebody like Toundi that was written by a Ghanaian?
It's possible. It's possible there's a book. I mean, you guys have read so many books and you've actually delved into literature, so you will know. But I'm sure there is. It probably it's a good homework for all of us to do. I'll just again interested in just some of the reviews, and especially from Ferdinand himself. I mean, he is in his eyes, and I guess probably say it's a general thing. Well, not all whites are bad. Some are good. Well, we know that. We've lived on this land. We know that. But Ferdinand pointed out that probably many of those who were colonial masters, those who came to the shores, are mediocres. Yeah, well, and I like that one, and that's how he saw it. So unfortunately, we learn from the hands of mediocrity. So you don't actually see the whole picture of the white person. And I like that. And it's something we have to bear in mind. And then another aspect, he talked about the truth. Is that the truth does not depend on the one who listens, but on the one who speaks it. And I think I like that. Probably at times we listen to the wrong thing, but again, if you know of the person speaking it, you know whether the person is talking, speaking the truth or not. If like the mediocrity comes from, if you look at the characters, which were portrayed in the book, from inference, then is that we have people who are they're supposed to be bearers of civilization, but in actual fact, they did present civilization to us in its mediocre form.
I think Kofi, you were telling me about the governor that was in Cape Coast, was it, or was it Elmina? And he was 20 years old when he
Right.
came
Well,
to.
that's another one. Yeah.
I know, but it's this idea of somebody
Mm,
so young, what
correct.
would he know? And he's managing so many people and doing whatever he wants with them, you know? Anyway.
Yeah, no. Well, it's a good point. I mean, I did work in Kolebu Hospital, and I remember that some of the preceptors, it's a very hard-working preceptor over there, and those who dissect bodies for us to work on. And in fact, it's a standing joke, and it goes like this. Let's say I've forgotten his name. I said, well, okay, if on Sunday morning you go into a church and you meet a white boy, what will you do? He said, well, I'll go home because I've seen my God. So that's how bad the joke is. We're talking of a white boy. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we have the wrong end of the stick. And it is possible, we have to admit it, that many of those who colonized us presented a form of finesse which we didn't have. If somebody lands on your shore in a ship, much better than yours, had a better clothing than what you have, had a panty to put on, you don't have any, has a sandals and shoes to put on which are better than yours. You were barefooted, you walk barefooted, you don't have a good soap. They came in with cake of soap which smells better. You don't have any, they have perfumery. What do you think? And they did present, let's face it, in a finesse which we didn't, and that made us so subservient, and we're treated badly, only to find out that they're just human like us. We are.
I'm not sure about all of that, but because we did have perfume, we did have soap,
Yeah,
we
well,
did.
Yeah, I think a
but
few generalizations.
they're far superior than ours. Honestly, they are superior than ours.
I don't. I mean,
It depends who you're referring to and which, society. Yeah, I feel as if that's a bit of a generalization and almost feeding into the same mentality which was used to subjugate, because that's a narrative or story I think that was put forward, but I don't think was true or 100% accurate.
I'm
and
just being
also, why
objective,
were
but in a
they?
way, if you look at it
Why?
very carefully, that's one of the ways, and it's just being objective about it, to be honest.
I think that's what is created as a narrative, but I don't think
Mm.
anyone would go to a shithole if there was nothing there to take. And they took the gold, they took the diamonds, they took everything, the manpower. So they obviously saw some value in us, but I think they taught us not to see value in ourselves.
We see that
And
is
I
that's the main argument over there. Now, if we know the worth of the gold, the bauxite, the diamond, and all of that, will prevent them from taking them. But we didn't have the know-how to prevent them. You see,
well,
that's what trumped the ability over ours.
I think it's different. If you have something in plentiful supply, you're not going to see it as being something that is as valuable as somebody who doesn't have those things. We wanted their mirrors, didn't we? We wanted their rifles. Those are things that we didn't have. They
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
gold that we could just pan in the river and get. We weren't even mining it at that stage because there was so much of it. Women were using gold dust on their skin to make
Mm,
them glitter and glow. That's how much we had. So
amazing, yeah.
yeah, I do think that it's maybe a bit more complicated than that, and I think, yeah, like Effia said, it feeds into that narrative, which I think Ferdinand is trying to challenge in his book. um
Probably
if we don't
let me
have
keep
any.
that in again. I mean, for example, I mean, it's Bob Marley who sang that. It's in abundance of water, the fool is always thirsty. I mean, if we know the value of the gold and all that, we'll not really part with them. But it only became a reality when we realized that, well, these are much more of value than the rifles they're giving to us. We didn't appreciate the the real worth of all that we had.
So I'm just gonna tie it all together since I don't think anyone else has got any questions. I'm not sure how much we know about Ferdinand, but he was actually a
Mm,
diplomat, a politician, and this was not the only book that he wrote. So his other novels obviously are in French, but they're called, I'm going to translate it, The Old Man and the Medal. So he wrote that one in the same year that he wrote Houseboy, but it was translated, so possibly it's available. And then he wrote another one called Road to Europe in 1960. And that was translated in the late 80s, 1989. But he was actually this, let me see, what was his title? He was a diplomat. So he was a chairman of UNICEF between 1977 and 78. And it was really weird. He actually died while working. So he died suddenly. Oh gosh, he was 80 years old, and he fell ill at the presidential palace after a reception for the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and just suddenly died, which is unfortunate. So yeah, I would like to personally thank Ferdinand for this book because I enjoyed it so much, and I'm going to look out for his other books. I don't know if there's any final words from anyone else on this book or him. No? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for sticking around for both the interview with Elizabeth and also to discuss this book.
Yeah, Elizabeth, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's recorded, so we'll share that one with you. And I think the next thing is just to ask you, we're in November now. Do you want a December book? Or do you want to have a break? Do you want to review our old books? No. Okay. So we're going to think of a book that we're going to read for the last book in 2025, I guess. Yeah?
Right.
Okay. So I think we're going to go back to Ghana. So have your thinking caps on. And let us know. And that's it. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
I think I've enjoyed it. I'll have to go back and read the book properly. It's just
yes.
It's a shame.
Please do.
Yeah, I wish I sink myself properly into this. Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's really good fun because it gives you a target. I'm really pleased that we've had so many newcomers today.
Yeah.
And like Jen was saying that she's not managed to finish a book that we've picked, but she finished this one. So
yeah,
thank
I think
you,
I'm enjoying
everyone.
it. I'm enjoying every session of it. So let me see whether I can prepare better next time.
Okay, brilliant. So come with your ideas for a book, a Ghanaian book, a book by a Ghanaian.
Okay.
And yeah, the links are in the chat if you do want to get Elizabeth's book. Thank you very much, Rhoda, for hosting, and thank everyone for coming. Please come again. Don't let me do all the talking. Okay, then.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Kwame.